So yeah, let's get this show on the road. Welcome everybody. This is going to be the first of hopefully many episodes of this new show that I am co-creating with my brother here called Hindsight. Go ahead and
Okay.
introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Bryce. I don't really have any social media, so I can't plug any of that.
Yeah,
but
that's okay.
you know,
Well, we just want them to stay here. We don't need them to go and click links and go to other various places. This is the home of this podcast, and I hope you all enjoy this episode because I think conceptually it's something that I think doesn't quite have a market that's tapped into yet. This podcast is heavily inspired by a podcast I watch from Colin Moriarty, his podcast Knockback, and basically it's him and his brother, and they reminisce and talk about whatever they want to talk about, whether it be the good old days or a movie, video game, whatever it is that they used to play or just want to talk about that day. But this one is a bit different because I'm obviously a lot younger than Colin is. I mean, they're in their 40s. One of them is 50 years old, actually. So they have a bit more of a older perspective, and the things they talk about is not quite the same as what me and my brother here will be talking about. So for those of you who are watching this, you've probably seen the other videos I post on this channel. Think of this as a longer form version of those types of videos. So we're going to talk about various things in the coming weeks and months and however long this thing goes. Hopefully forever. I don't know. Who knows? Today's episode is going to be about adulting in general. Reason why I wanted to bring this topic up specifically is because I'm 25. You're 21 now. And, I feel like even though our ages reflect it, I feel like we don't really have many adult conversations. And granted, I think that's just because me and you are very young at heart in a lot of ways compared to a lot of other people. But I think this generation in general is like this. I was listening to a video not too long ago, and they were explaining how the older generations of yesteryear or whatever, like people who are in their like 70s and 80s right now, you can tell that the way life was back then, that growing up wasn't it was more so a mindset, right? Like when you reached a certain age, you just immediately expel all of the things that you like and the things that you enjoy to do, and you sacrifice those things for the sake of starting a family, getting a house, and the things of that nature. And I mean, that was just the thing that you did, right? Like there was nothing to ever challenge that ideology or those mindsets, because I mean that was just the old way of thinking. Like there were no, I guess, fun jobs that you could necessarily do to keep that youth in you. I mean, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go work in the coal mine. That was the thing you did back then. So I find it very interesting because I look at people our age in our demographic, our group, and I just really wonder like what type of adults that will eventually become when we're in our 40s and 50s and things of that nature, because I don't necessarily see me ever ending up in that way. I feel like we're all gonna age pretty crazy. I feel like we're gonna be, you know, in senior homes in our 60s looking at skeet memes of Jimmy Neutron and shit and laughing our asses off. And I think that's like speaks to the unhinged nature of the way society is evolving. But yeah, what do you think about that specifically?
well, I definitely agree that it's like the way that for example, our parents or even their parents used to view the world and the way they grew up is definitely like a way of thinking that I feel like is like almost completely gone, just because back then a lot of these more abstract or things these more abstract like ways of expressing yourself, like all these different art forms and like for example writing, in the traditional sense, art, filmmaking, all these different things weren't seen as particularly viable, and that's why like there's even to this day that stigma of, oh, what are you going to do with an art degree? But even as we were growing up, with things like YouTube and all these other things, getting popular, and then finding out that you can make money through it, down the line. It's like this generation, and I feel like every generation after is going to find or be a lot more open and accepting of a lot of these more like hanging on to your inner child or your expressiveness, just because there's so many ways you can make money nowadays while still being yourself. Like all these influencers and TikTokers and YouTubers and everybody, they all have these outlets where they can constantly express themselves and they never feel the need to change or conform for whatever reason to, oh, well, I can't do that because we're in, like we're at work or we're here. Because like, yeah, sure, you can keep yourself to yourself at work, but you have that outlet. And I feel like a lot of the generations prior didn't have that,
Yeah, yeah, well said, well said. Yeah, I find that super interesting just because I feel like we live specifically in a very interesting time. I feel like everything is changing so fast, almost on a day-to-day basis, to the point where I have no idea what 2 years from now, let alone 10, looks like, compared to the day we're living in now. So bouncing off of that, we're mainly going to be talking about grown-up conversations because we just don't talk about stuff like this. Normally whenever I get to see you or hang out, we talk about movies, games, like pop culture or whatever. Like that's just kind of what you talk about. But I think it'd be interesting if we sort of talk about I guess whatever the ongoings of what's happening in each other's lives in terms of just how are we surviving? How are we struggling? I've been down this rabbit hole like these last few weeks of like I never saw myself as someone that would ever care or pay attention to a lot of politics and stuff like that when it comes to the economy and all this stuff.
Yeah, I still don't.
Yeah, like even if you don't, you definitely feel it because I know you feel how horrible it is to pay for like how prices are going up of everything.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I don't know.
Most
I mean,
definitely.
like when you go to the grocery store, it is absurd how much money I spend to get groceries compared to what it was not even 3 years ago. Like before I would go and I would get enough because I'm shopping just for me, and I would just get the stuff I need, and it would be about $50, give or take. Now it's like I'm like getting half of what I would used to get, and it's like running me like $80 to $90, and that's me like trying to be conservative with what I get. If I really wanted to get what I get, I'm spending easily like $100 and $120 of groceries or whatever to last me like 2 to 3 weeks or whatever. So that stuff's crazy. It's really annoying. But see, I just want to talk about money struggles, college, building relationships, roadmaps.
Oh yeah, the
things
fun
of that
stuff.
nature.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason why I chose this topic for this to be the first episode is just because it's a very tone setter of like the casual nature of the show, the almost directionless freedom. Like, if we end up tangenting on other things, that's cool, that's fine. But it also sets as a really good way for anyone who just clicks on this to, I guess, get a general vibe of the type of people they're listening to, because they may know who I am, but they don't know anything about you. So like,
Yeah,
you
I
got to really
understand.
sell yourself here, man. You're the co-host, so this is really relying on you. I don't know.
Oh boy, we're talking about adulting and all this other stuff that's super stressful, and then you just, by the way, really sell yourself. No
Yeah.
pressure, no pressure.
I want to ask you because I don't think I've asked you this, because you're 21 now, but have you like actually like went out and drank at all? Have you done that?
No, I because I have no real interest in drinking, smoking, anything like that. But I for because my birthday falls like really close to Father's Day, so me, dad, and our sister, we all went out, and we were at this one grill place, and I drove. And so dad orders a drink, and I was like, "Oh, dad, if you want, we can share a drink or whatever." Because I don't plan on drinking. But I was like, just one time, like a father son thing. And he looks me dead in my eyes, and he goes, "Have you ever had anything to drink before?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "Don't drink anything here. This sake, it'll mess you up, and you're the one driving." So and I was like, "Oh, well, okay." So that was my one chance to, well, not one chance, but I was like the one time I was like open to
to doing
really
it?
drinking something. Yeah, but
Okay.
I mean, I'm not against it per se. I don't have any interest towards it. You know, it's, I'm not going to judge you or look at you differently for doing it, but I have no,
Okay. That's
you know,
that's something
desire
I
to.
was curious about. Um, it's funny how different yet the same we are. I also haven't dabbled because I don't really. See, I'm more of the my logical thinking brain is, oh, this is bad for me and my body, and I care about my body, and I don't want to damage my body, so why would I do it? And I understand the reasons why people do it, because obviously that line of thinking is a bit backwards, because you could say it's hypocritical. People eat junk food. Junk food's bad for you. Things of that nature. And I would say, yeah, there is a bit of hypocrisy in that line of thinking for sure. But I think when you've been, told all your life, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, junk food you're eased into. When you're younger, parents don't care. They let you eat junk food like no other. Like it's almost like a rite of passage. Like when you're just gonna eat shit food. That's just gonna
Yeah,
happen.
I remember eating bowls of Cookie Crisp, and that food's horrible.
Right.
Cookie Crisp is
And
terrible
so
cereal.
at that point, I just feign ignorance. I'm just like, well, I was just a dumb kid, and they made me eat, or not made me, but they allowed me to consume these bad things, right? So
Mhm.
that's not my fault. I'm already hooked on it, right? But there's probably a world where I was raised not to eat all that stuff and eat healthy, and then now I'm a person that doesn't eat any junk food because you know I'm now super health conscious about it. Don't want it. So that's how it works. I feel like now that you put it into my own hands of like drinking alcohol, it's like, well, I've never done it before. So if I were to do it, it would be 100% on me. And my logical thinking brain is like, no, we're not even going to touch that. That's not how it works. But the reason why I see different as well is because um, I had a very similar scenario when I turned 21. My dad was offering, like actively offering to drink, and I was like, nah. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I wasn't even necessarily open to it at all. Not even just because like wasn't a bonding thing. It was just like a nah, I'm good. Like
Yeah, it's
so,
not your cup of tea.
right. The it triumphs overall the moral of like nah, I'm locked in. Now I have since changed my mind on a lot of things of that nature. I still haven't drank anything, but I feel like in the very specific setting with very specific people, I do believe I would be open to doing a bit of it. But that scenario has not happened. So until that happens, it just won't happen. But yeah, surrounded by the right people in the right circumstance, I would be open to doing it. But as of right now, nah, I don't see it happening in the future. So yeah, that's my stance on that. But that was interesting. I didn't really know for sure if what your stance was on that.
Yeah, because in my eyes, it's always been less about like a health thing. Because I mean, you know, like you said, everything kills you if you really look into it. And I personally believe in a healthy balance of everything, right? So people say, oh, you know, if you eat too much junk food, that kills you. It's like, yeah, sure. If you have too much sugar, too much carbs, too much, you know, whatever, yeah, that is bad for you. But on the opposite side of that, if you never have any, you know, of these things, that's also bad. You know, so it's like if you like for people who only eat vegetables, they don't eat meat, they don't eat, you know, a lot of these like they only have like natural sugars, things like that. They have to actively either like take supplements or have like a very unique diet. Because sure, you can get like vitamins and stuff from like meat, like all the protein, all the stuff from like other stuff, but you have to eat way, you know, bigger amounts of those things. And, you know, you have to do all these, like, you have to bend over backwards to avoid doing it. So I feel like when it comes to anything, it's all about like a healthy, like a middle.
Yeah, there's a
Uh,
balance to it.
yeah. But the thing that's kept me from alcohol specifically, you know, aside from just no, not really for me, is it feels like an escape, and for a lot of people that is what it is. Other people it might be something different. But this is gonna sound a little bad now that I've phrased it like this, but for me, I already have an escape, which is like video games, like books. Which
Mm-hmm.
it's like, why would I drink and possibly say or do things that I wouldn't normally do in like a sober mindset and possibly affect relationships, negatively, when I could just, play a video game or watch
That's
a movie or read a book.
that's a good point. Because that's also a big fear of mine too. That comes with the idea of drinking is I'm like a control freak when it comes to my actions and the way I present myself. So just the idea of being in a state of conscious that's not fully in control, and I may do something that I may regret, that like things of that even though I don't know, truly how it would affect me, the thought of that really freaks me out, and I don't like that at all. Just
Yeah.
when I was getting my like I this is actually like a super subconscious deep fear, because this has like been a thing. So I have a fear of like NyQuil, which is crazy, but like NyQuil is terrifying because it like literally knocks you out. Like you feel like, when I used to take NyQuil, you would take it, and then um obviously it's different if you take it like before bed, then it's different. But I was taking it like, in the middle of the day, so I wasn't really tired. Um so I don't know why I didn't take Dayquil. Don't ask me that, but I was taking NyQuil for whatever reason. I don't remember the circumstance, but it freaked me out because I took it and I was acting like it was a normal day. I was just being awake like normal, and then I'm literally like, you feel your bodily functions start to slow down in an unnatural way. It's like you have no control. It's almost like your body's just giving out. And I remember this vividly, but I was laying down watching something or whatever on my phone,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then just in the midst of it, like I literally feel my actual brain just shutting off, and it was terrifying because it felt like I didn't know what the hell was happening, and then like my body just literally like passes out. Like like it was like I've never passed out before, so I don't know if like this is the equivalent of like normally passing out, but it was literally like you're conscious the whole time, like you're literally feeling the body go like and you just like,
Seeing the
oh shit, and
Just
you're like,
watching
where
the
did I go?
windows.
Yeah, and then when you wake up, you're literally like, what the hell happened? Like, what actually? Where did I go? Like, it's actually terrifying. So, when I went to get my wisdom teeth removed, it was a very similar um, scenario because when I went, they said they were gonna give me the stuff that would uh, put me to sleep, but then they were like, actually, we don't have that. And I was like, oh, okay. And then, I went in, they put this numbing thing in my mouth or whatever.
Hmm.
And then I was getting this very like weird, I don't know if this is just being high. I don't know what the hell it was, but I had earbuds in my ear and I was listening to a podcast because I was like, well, this will make the day go by quicker. But the audio from the podcast like started to like get like distorted, and then it started looping. Like they would say the same word like over and over and over again, and then I'm inside in my head, I'm freaking out. Like I don't know what I looked like, but there was a moment where the dentist, he was looking at me. He was like, you all right? I was like, I don't know what's going on. I was
Nurse,
freaking.
he's about to go postal.
Yeah, I was freaking out. So like just the thought of like losing control, um, that is a huge fear of mine. I do not like it at all. So that is another factor as to why the idea of alcohol is very frightening to me. Which is also why I feel like I wouldn't do it unless I'm in a very specific scenario with a very specific group of people that I trust to, you know, hold me together because I'm a freak out.
uh, I
Uh,
got you.
yeah.
Um, and I'm kind of in a similar boat, not like to the extent, because I wouldn't describe it as like a fear. Well, I mean, it'll kind of be a fear, I guess. Um, but it's for me, it's like I know what my intrusive thoughts are like, and they're not like inherently violent or anything crazy like that. It's not like I'm just walking around like, man, I really want to kill somebody, nothing like that. But I know that like those intrusive thoughts you'll have Like, you know how some people joke around, like, yeah, I'm driving, and then just, if I just turned the wheel, or like, oh, if I just play bumper cars right now, like little things like that. I know that, like, if I have one of these random intrusive thoughts, like let's say for example, I'm drinking or I'm at a party or whatever, and everything's going fine, and I just randomly have an intrusive thought like, what if I just threw this bottle at somebody? Like not even to like hurt them or anything, just like what if I just like try to play catch with somebody but just didn't tell them we were playing catch, or like 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 little things like that
Yeah,
make like no
you're the
sense that
wild
like
card.
naturally. Like I'm not actually gonna give like any of my actual intrusive thoughts, but like those are just like a few examples like of just a random thing that could pop in your head that normally you'd have the restraint to. I mean, and I don't know, maybe when you drink you would have the restraint to, because I mean, never done it, so I don't like. It
Yeah,
could literally just be you drink and man, I just feel a little different. Like it could just be that. Like I'm probably like building it up to be this like big thing if I drink and I become this other person, like a Jekyll and Hyde situation, but it's probably more of just I feel slightly different until you drink too much, and then
yeah,
that's
it
when you
is
have the
one of
fun
those
stuff.
things you just won't know until you try it, which is why I haven't written it off completely. Even though there was a time where I definitely did it in my head, think like, yeah, this I'm never gonna do it. But now I'm like, if the scenario presented itself, I would try it. But yeah, interesting. Let's uh let's talk about uh let's see. I have some things here. Let's do college and then roadmaps. Actually, we could throw building relationships in there too, because I think these things are kind of intertwined in some aspect. So, uh, I know your specific situation with college is a bit of a journey for sure. So
No,
I
it's
want
I,
to
I would
let you
describe
go
it as a
first on
mess.
that.
Okay,
How is school going for you right now? Like, how are you feeling about school?
it is a mess. It's a jumbled, confusing. It's like the best way to describe it. It's like the only thing I can be super familiar with just because of how much I've done it. Growing up playing video games and stuff. Is imagine playing like a new fighting game or even an old fighting, it's just a game you've never touched at a super high level, and like someone just hands you the controller and goes, "Hey, figure this out." Like that's what it feels. Because like I go for one thing. I initially enrolled for computer science because oh hey, I really like engineering in high school. I was like, yeah, that was pretty fun. Let me go and see if I can do or not engineering, programming. We took an engineering class, and in it we did programming. And I was like, I really like programming. I really like video games. I really like writing. Let me get into game development. And then I started, kind of, man, this is a little difficult. This is kind of getting a little tricky. But I was like, you know what? Let me not just give up. Let me not drop out or anything like that. I was like, let me give it another semester with computer science. Then I got a different teacher. Everything seemed to click. Like I was doing way better. Then I go for the computer science too, and then it's right back to that beginning of okay, now I'm lost again. What's going on? And I can give you the exact moment I changed my major, and like I'll never forget this. I'm in class. We sit down. We're all taking a test on our laptops. I'm going through it. I'm actually feeling pretty confident. I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, this has to be right. What else could this be? Oh yeah, this is right. Yeah. I'm going through it. I feel great. I hit submit 20.
Oof.
So I close my laptop. I walk out of the room. I call my counselor. I go, hey, this isn't gonna work. Can I can I get my schedule switched? I'm gonna
Man, that's
drop
soul
this
crushing.
class, switch my major. Yeah, no, it was. It was also the teacher I had. He would do this thing, right? So the second teacher I had, the one I felt pretty comfortable with, he would walk us through it in class. We would code in class and sometimes out of class. And it was really like hand holdy, right? But this other professor who I had my first year, my third year, or I guess first semester and third semester rather, not years. This guy, this is what he would do. He'd come in and he would just be like, "Hey, program, like write a statement to describe or like to have this function." So it'd be like write a statement to output the like you can input two numbers and it would output the solution if you added or subtracted them. And it was like, okay, but this is my first day in computer science. How do I do that? And he was like, oh well, just try it. And then you try it, you inevitably mess up, and then for the rest of the class, he would teach you how to do that thing, and then a few other things. But he would grade you on those initial attempts. So you would come in basically guaranteed to get a 0 every day. And then, yeah. And I remember we did a project and this guy just goes, you guys like rock, paper, scissors, right? I was like, kinda, yeah. And he goes, so for this project, by the end of next week, or by the end of this week, you guys are going to program essentially rock, paper, scissors. He called it Morapinzi, I think. And it was a 5-way game of rock, paper, scissors where it was like zombie, robot, ape, something else, and something else. And you had to program it. So that way, it was 2 players that could input any one of those 5 things and had to output the correct response given that combination of things. And it was like, you do know that like this is like our 4th week, man. And he just goes, yeah, man, no, do it. And I mean, I managed to get it done with the help of like a few other people in the class. Like, it wasn't like a group project, rather, but it was like a personal project for each of us.
Right.
I mean, and it can be rewarding, but for me, that is how college has been like a bit of a mess. I'm trying to like still find my way, I suppose. But I know for you, you've been doing film. So how's that been?
Yeah. It's I mean, I'm finally like approaching the finish line, so I'm finally in a place where I'm like, wow, it's finally about to be over. But yeah, my there was definitely bumps around, what I had to do too, because I feel like college is definitely not built to help you succeed. They want you to stay there as long as possible. They really do. Your academic advisor, they will gladly accept your schedule and they will see and know that there are classes on the schedule that don't go towards your major, but they will say nothing. They will feign ignorance to it. And this has happened in my first couple years, and I didn't realize it until later when I actually was given the opportunity to actually see like the all of the classes that I did take that didn't count. So because of that, there are a good like 8 or 9 credits or something like that I just for classes I took that were like didn't really go to anything, which kind of sucks because if they were the right classes, I would be done already. Now, you could definitely argue that, like, I should have just paid more attention to X or Y, but the fact of the matter is I did go to my advisor and I said, hey, are these classes okay? Is this a good schedule for, my stuff? And then she was like, yeah, this is a good schedule. Only later to realize that no, some of those classes were just not needed. So granted, the classes that weren't needed were the meaningless experiences. You could argue and say they were worthwhile, but when you take into account that you're paying for all this stuff, that is pretty manipulative and pretty uncool to do. So there was a demotivating point about a year or 2 ago when I like realized that, and I was like, oh my god, you can tell me I wasted all this time and this money on when I could have been done, almost a year earlier. But then I was like, you know what? I'm like literally like 75% through at the time, and I was like, I just might as well finish. So finally, I'm at the finish line, about to finish. Do I feel like having this paper is like the crowning achievement of like, yes, I finally made it? Well, that depends on what job opportunities are waiting for me, because the way the economy and society is structured right now, if you don't go to college, you are pretty much bound to a minimum wage or slightly above minimum wage esque low tier like job. And I've worked enough of those to know that I do not want that to be my only option. So I feel like finishing the degree is a must at this point. But this definitely goes into the other topic about having a roadmap. To get more specific, why I jotted this down is because I don't think I've told you specifically yet. I think you're still. Last time I guess divulged these plans with you, it was me going to California. That has since changed a while ago, for a multitude of reasons. For one, you recall, I think I told you, I was gonna go and move in with Angelo because he lives out there. Uh,
Uh-huh.
Angelo, he has a lady friend, a girlfriend that he's been very close with recently. So they're planning on moving in together. So I'm not even gonna, you know, make
Intrude
him.
on that.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna intrude on that. I respect my friend. I'm not gonna, say, whoa, but you said you let. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. And the thing is, there was always issues with going to California in the first place because, uh, we would look at places to stay frequently, and we would see the cost of living is brutal. It
You
is
know, the cost of living out there is ridiculous. I think it's
absurd.
only matched by New York, maybe beaten by New York.
So yeah, we were looking at it for a while, and it seemed possible under the condition that it was going to be me, him, and he had these two other friends that also were looking to go all in on a place. So it would have been four of us sharing a place and paying monthly to stay there. That was manageable. Like just from looking at it, I was like, okay, this is doable. We can actually make this work. This is something that can happen. But, things change. People, go on different trajectories and whatnot. And as time went on, LA just became more and more less likely of an option because of money being the biggest constraint. Because the fact of the matter is, I could very well move out there and live out there, but would I be happy? Probably not, because I'd be struggling to survive, paycheck to paycheck, like on the verge of failure. Like I don't want to live like that. That's horrible. No one wants to live like that. And even in general, where we're at now, it also really sucks. Like, everything is expensive. Like, unless you move to the Midwest or something, like the entire U.S. is like going through an economic like insanity. like
Yeah.
just wanting to move out is like it's damn near impossible for people around our age. So here's what's been the plan since March of this year. I want to say, yeah, as of March. So I did a video about this on this channel a few months back. So you're welcome to take a look at that if you want to later after this, if you want to hear more details. But I'm gonna give you the short version because people that are watching this probably have already seen that video. But essentially, as you know, and as you've probably noticed, I've been taking up learning Japanese very seriously. I think I've been at it for literally almost a year. Literally almost a year now. I think in 2 months it'll be a year since me learning. But I've become pretty proficient in a lot of ways. Obviously got a long way to go. But the reason being is in March of this year, I was going down a rabbit hole where I was looking at, places or options for things like to do when you graduate in terms of like just easy jobs to obtain, right? Like, okay, on the off chance, that it's damn near impossible to use this film degree to get a job in the film industry. What can you do with just a bachelor's in general? Like, what can that get you, right? So I was looking into this, and one of the easiest jobs apparently to get is a teaching job. You could teach English abroad, and all you need is a bachelor's. You don't need any experience teaching. You don't need any teaching degree. You just need a bachelor's in anything, and these jobs are very attainable and very easy to get. So when I found out about that, I started doing some digging, and there's this program. It's called the JET program, and essentially you apply. The applications are just now opening up now, so I actually just recently applied. But basically, you apply, and you if you're selected, they fly you out abroad, and you get to take a salary job, which is pretty nice, salary job. And it's under contract, so they'll contract you for a year, and if you like it, you can stay for more years. And you basically just go abroad and teach English. Now, you're not the primary teacher, which is relieving to me. You're the assistant teacher, so the weight of I guess responsibility isn't super high. Like it's like, okay, cool. So it's still an introductory level type of position. It's not like we want you to know the entire lexicon of the English language and whatever. And mostly you'll be teaching in elementary or middle schools. Only I guess the really like, professional, like people that have been doing it for a while, they get to teach like high school level. So you're going to be working with fairly young kids. But the cool thing about the opportunity is not only do you get, your transportation for free, they fly you out, they give you the work visa, they set you up with a place to stay. And they also pay for your transportation to and from to work, which is pretty sweet. It's not really much risk there. I mean, and I was looking at, the cost of living in certain prefectures in Japan, and oh my goodness, it is amazing. It is quite possibly the opposite of here in terms of reliability, I guess. Like, you go there, and I'm in this Discord server with a bunch of people that recently got into the program, and they flew out this July, so they just got there. There are some people in there that are paying literally under $200 for rent where they are living. It is amazing. So the cost of living is very, very nice, depending on the place that they put you, obviously. But on average, most of the places are very, very reasonable for living. And biggest plus of all is I've always wanted to go to Japan, so this is like a win-win for me personally. So I've been basically over the last like 8 to 10 months, I've been putting effort into ensuring that I meet any like possible, credentials that could amp my potential of getting into this program. So, trying to learn the language, putting substantial time into that. Over the summer, I got my TEFL, which is basically a certificate saying that, you've passed this class. Now you are certified to teach English, which that was definitely a great help and bonus. So I've pretty much like been working towards that super hard, because I want to hopefully get into this program, and as soon as I graduate, get to do that, because I think that'll for one be an amazing experience, just because I would love to live somewhere new in general, and Japan is just amazing. I am so infatuated with the culture and the people and everything, and it's like living here. Probably won't disclose where we live, but living where we live, there ain't shit to do here that interests me personally. I mean, there's like some things from time to time, like, oh, this is nice. I'll go check this out or go do this or whatever. But I have no desire to ever leave my room where we live. I have no desire to ever like go out and explore shit. If I lived out there, I would be the opposite of what I am. I would literally be outside all the time and just exploring and finding new things, meeting new people, things of that nature. So it would be a transformative experience to be able to do this. So that's kind of where I'm at now with things. So hopefully I get in, and hopefully things go great. That'd be nice. So that's my roadmap in terms of my current plan. But roadmaps shift, they change, things happen that you probably didn't expect, or that could put you on a different path. So first I want to obviously get your reaction to that, because I know you didn't know that. But then also, what do you think, is your current roadmap, like, of where you want to go, with your current plans post college or in the middle of college, whatever it may be.
You got you. So I'm not gonna lie to you. Both of these answers are going to be fairly short, especially in comparison.
That's fine. That's fine.
But yeah, I was gonna say in response to that, because I mean, it's no secret that I don't like have a chance to keep up with most of your videos. I do check out a lot of them. I'll, like at the very least, click on them, listen to like the first couple minutes, and then like something will come up. So I gotta run, go pick this person up, or go do this, go do that, that sort of thing. But I mean, I'm excited for you. I know that's something you're super interested in. It makes a lot of other things kind of make a little sense now. But I mean, aside from the typical, hey, be careful and all that kind of stuff. I mean, hey, have fun. That's
Of course.
It seems like it'd be a good fit for you.
Yeah, and I want to be that. I like the idea of being the person that can shepherd people to learning more about it, because I would love, like a family trip where like I'm already living there, and I'm like, you guys should just come, and I could just show you all the cool things that I've found after living there for however long time and be able to, because by that, hopefully, if I'm there, obviously, I would hope to have learned a good chunk of the language to the point where, I could easily like help you all, get around, go to place and see all the things without having that barrier. Because, a big barrier for people is that language barrier. Because Japan it was the longest closed off country in the world. So only fairly recently people have been allowed to migrate there and live there and stuff like that. So it's like if you go there, you are literally the 1%, less than 1%. Like if you're not from there, so being a foreigner in there is daunting, and I totally understand that. But I feel like there's so many like amazing and cool things there that like I wish people would be open to seeing. So I would love to just be that outlet, be that person. Like Darren, he when he heard about me signing up for this thing, he was like, yeah, I've been trying to get Darren to come here and hang out forever, because out of all of people in our friend group, he is the one that can, like, he actually just can. He has the money, he has the free time, he could just do it, but he doesn't want to do it because he's a hermit and he wants to stay in his house all day. The moment he heard I was doing this thing, he was like, listen, he's like, if you go over there, I'll let you be the guinea pig, but if you go over there, he's like, yeah, I'm coming through. And I was like, man, this Darren, Darren is so fake, bro. But but still, I would welcome it. I would love to have anyone that's interested, that's mildly interested, that normally would never take that journey, would never take that trip, to who wants to. I'd be like, hey, I will be the guy. I will be the shepherd that would like take you to all the cool touristy places, or even the low key places that you don't know about. And show you around. I think that would be super cool to be. But yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
Roadmap.
Yeah, no. So, in terms of roadmap, this is going to sound a little depressing. So, the few things that I did have planned out, didn't go as planned. So, I went to this writing conference in New York this year. I went out there, and the writing conference was not well. I was hoping to go there to network, to possibly get my foot in the door, become like maybe do an internship somewhere, and then maybe get some more writing experience, start writing for books, games, whatever, and that'd be my thing. We went out there, and it was essentially a bunch of middle-aged women telling vaguely inappropriate jokes to an audience of more middle-aged people. Like there's one joke in particular where she was like, yeah, my husband loves hugging. We just can't keep his limbs to himself. And she goes, wait, I didn't mean it like that. It's like, ma'am, limbs plural. No, there is no other way to mean that. But yeah, no. So those things like weren't really inherently dirty, but she was kind of trying to make it for this like really weird joke that wasn't funny to begin with. And like you knew it was bad because even Nana, she came with with me, or I guess I went with her more like when we went. Even she was like nudging me, going, "Hey, you just want to leave?" Like I was like, "Yeah, let's." So I got to experience New York, got to meet up with some family there, but the whole writing and career opportunity I was pursuing didn't really work out. I also tried to join this. I ended up joining this one Discord server for these. It was this group of people that was going to work on the show, and they were like, "Yeah, we need storyboard artists, blah blah blah, all these different roles." But then the one that stuck out to me, writer. I apply, join, didn't get it, so it's like, okay, fine. Hey, works out, or it doesn't work out, but it is what it is. Then I see Insomniac on Twitter. They recently put out that their internships were open, and one of the positions was writing. I click on it, and they needed resume. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I could have a resume, all this other stuff. But then they said they needed an example of like your completed work. And I don't have anything completed right now, aside from a few short stories that I'm not super proud of. So it's like, well, can't do this.
Yeah, you're running into the classic trope of, oh, I just got out of school and time to apply for these jobs. And it's like, oh, well, what's your experience? It's like, well, how the hell am I supposed to get the experience?
Yeah.
That's why I think it's very paramount in a creative field to make as much as you can of like your own stuff on your own time, or just work on very small fan things or whatever. Enough to have a portfolio. That's why oftentimes I'm like so glad I have this backlog of videos to where it's like, even though I never like worked a official job, like a real job that deals with video editing or deals with any production of any level, I could easily direct someone to be like, well, look at all this. This is all me. You can see the view counts. You can see the thumbnails. You can see and watch the actual content and see like the work that was put in, and that's like a testament of what I'm capable of in some way. So I think it is paramount. Like with writing specifically, that is a bit on the harder side to do, but I'm sure there are probably a lot of people that are, you know, maybe working on, fan creations or, pilots of some sort that maybe looking for people to help write or whatever of that nature. But yeah, joining Discords and stuff like that is a pretty good idea, to help find stuff like that, I feel.
Yeah, and what I actually planned on doing, this is something I never wanted to do because it has like just a bad connotation to it. Like I personally don't have anything against anybody who goes out and like reads fan works or like fanfics and stuff like that, but it does have that connotation to it, of oh, like when you think of fanfic, the first thing you think of is like cringy, poorly written, uh very like self-insert, this like it doesn't have a good reputation.
It doesn't until
But
it does. That's usually how it goes. Like you look at something like an abridged series, right?
yeah,
Like certain abridged series take off and become very popular amongst the fans to where it almost becomes its own form of like must watch, or like people look at the Team 4 Star stuff, and it's like
yeah,
on paper theoretically that is like some fan um fan work of like a oh I forget the term that you literally just said, but you know what I mean, like things like that on paper, yeah, they sound like they have a bad connotation, but if it's good, you know,
yeah, yeah,
people latch on.
and
But yeah, this
yeah.
is stigma.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and the main thing that's been keeping me from creating an account on one of these different websites or anything like that is, I don't know if you actually know about this or heard of this, remember it, anything like that, but there was actually a court case that happened because this one fan writer, she wrote I think a Twilight fanfic and then published it as its own book, and this other girl goes and says, "Hey, that copied my work," and so in a courtroom they had to have somebody read out the differences between like werewolf like mating rituals and stuff like that and like that terminology, and like that
So
just
these were
seems
two
like that.
fan works that
Yeah,
one
two
that
fan works,
copied the
but
other.
well, it was two fan works. I think one alleged that they copied the other, but one of the fan works got popular, so she like published it as her own book.
Mm.
And then someone else was like, "Oh, this is just mine or whatever." But like when you're writing about werewolves and like two stories about werewolves and vampires loving like a female
Yeah.
or male
So it's gonna
person, like
overlap.
there's gonna be some overlap. Like it's like with DC and Marvel, there's overlap between some of the heroes, like Sentry and Superman, or
Superman,
not,
right?
yeah, or like you could kind of make the comparison with, like Batman and Iron Man. They're both like super rich humans who use their riches and genius for like, or even I think the most direct one is Deadpool and Deathstroke, or even Spider-Man, and DC has their own version of like a Spider-Man type character. They call it, I think, Black Spider. Like there's going to be overlap no matter the medium,
Mm-hmm.
especially with how long humans have been around. Like you're never going to make something that's 100% original. There's always going to be aspects from something else.
Well, yeah, everything's
uh,
derivative. People
yeah,
can't
everything is.
spawn things in out of nothing. Everything is coming from something. Every idea that you have, like literally everything, it is derived from your experiences and the things you've seen, or would inspire what you will make and will continue to make. So yeah, by nature, nothing is ever truly original. But sometimes, if you can take something and execute it, at a level that is that just that much better, that much above everything else, the originality is not necessarily necessary. The originality is only a thing that is an attention grabber. It seems for me, it's like whenever something is like gains traction due to it being original, it's it's normally just because of that, and then that's what gets people in the door, right? And then once they're in, everything else is fairly traditional. It's just done at a very high level, right? You could say like the shock factor or something like The Boys. It's like what drew people in was how overtly violent it was, how vulgar it was. But then when you actually watch the show, it's more to it. It's more meaty. Like the writing is actually good. Like the characters and the way they act and things of that nature. And the world is actually interesting. So it's all about execution on the things that really matter. But the originality is more so just trying to draw people in and do something that feels different than what's actually out there. And a case in point is The Boys, because you look at the original comic, and I haven't read it personally, but one of my friends, Luis, he says the original comic kind of sucks. Like it's not that great. So you take that world and the characters and you put it in the hands of very talented writers, and they can crank out something like that's actually is popular and good. So yeah, I have super high respect for writers. Like the writing I do is very commentary in nature and not necessarily storytelling based writing, but I do want to explore that because I do want to develop a pilot at some point whenever I have the money and free time to delve into it. But I have some pretty great ideas for the type of story I want to tell. And it's all derivative. I think of the story I want to tell, and immediately I have like 5 or 6 different things that I'm inspired by. That like, yeah, I want to have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, but every little thing with a little twist on it that is different. So yeah, I totally understand that. I feel like, especially now with AI and things of that nature, trying to become a writer is one of the hardest aspirations that can exist right now, I feel.
Yeah, but I mean, despite it being difficult, like I really want to do. I know like you didn't say that like to deter me. I know you're just pointing out a fact, and I feel like that's with most forms of art now, like all over Twitter, and I think it was like I don't know if it was a big legal issue or just like a big issue in general, but like they were talking. No, it was a legal issue. What am I talking about? They're trying to get laws to limit like AI art and just AI in general, because like it's getting to a point now where a bunch of companies are trying to, oh well, we don't need to hire anybody anymore. We can just run it through a program and boom.
Yeah,
But
it's the Wild West right
uh,
now.
yeah, it is. But that brings me actually to uh, one of the like you're talking about everything being derivative. This brings me to this one story I'm working on. It's we were at work, and this buddy of mine who's super big into Marvel and DC. He came with us to watch movies a couple times, uh, and he's like above all else, he loves CW. He loves CW's Flash. He loves the Arrowverse. He loves Crisis on Infinite Earths. And on Twitter, I actually, well, maybe I could probably pull it up, but on Twitter, he does like posters and like kind of like edits the best he can with like his limited resources. He does these like really nice edits, and he recommends to me. He's like, "Oh, it would be really cool, like a Marvel and DC like crossover." I was like, "Oh yeah, like they've done that in a few different comics." He's like, "Yeah, but like, I'd really love to see like a story about that." And initially, I was like, "That seems like a very generic idea of DC and Marvel come together, and then Batman and blah 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 fight, and you get to see all these fights." But then, like I was thinking about it, I was like, actually, that would be a pretty fun challenge of how do I write a story like this and have it be interesting.
Okay, I see. When you I want to ask, when you write, do you write in the style of literature, or do you write screenplay style? Like, is that something
I
that's in your just toolkit? I guess. Like, do you know how to write like a film type script or a TV show script?
Yeah, I've I've dabbled with like screenplays and like that, and that actually is a little easier for me because I'm gonna like do a lot more reading to like work on
I
how
certainly
to
find
get
it a lot
dialogue to
easier too.
flow. Yeah, because when you're writing a book or any other piece of media, at least for me, I've always struggled with getting the way the page is set up right, if this makes sense. Like when I do lines of dialogue, I always start to put like indentions. So I'll have like one line on its like own little spot, then maybe like a little more text, and then when someone else talks, I'll do like another line. And then depending on how things go, I'll have it bounce back and forth for a little bit. Um, but finding that like way of getting the page to look nice and not be like a a jumble of mess or like a huge block of text to make it easier on the eyes, I've always kind of struggled with.
Okay, so let's fast forward, right? Let's say you graduate. Hopefully, by that point, you have a few more completed, like finished works that you've written. Ideally, what type of career path are you you know searching for? Is it strictly like novels, or would you be happy working like a part of a writer's room, like you're part of a bigger team that works on some other project that may not be your story or your ideas, but you're helping that person achieve their vision, or uh just writing freelance.
Well, honestly, I'd be all right with any of those. Like freelance would give me the most freedom, obviously, but it'd be a little less. It wouldn't be too great in terms of job security. I definitely would need to prove myself first before I could.
Yeah.
But ideally, I would want to either write freelance, or if I do have to be part of like a bigger writers room or like bigger team, I'd like to write for video games or those kind of stories. I don't think movies would be for me, but I really do like the freedom that I'm saying a lot in terms
No,
of
it's fine.
writing and like how you can build these worlds, and like when you really get in depth with it and can craft these amazing stories that stand on their own. I mean, and that kind of goes hand in hand though with like cinematography, the music and everything, because all of that comes together to make these stories way more impactful. Like if you think of one of the most emotional or impactful moments from any show, movie, game, whatever, part of what makes it so emotional is the music or lack thereof, the composition of the shots, and the
The
actors,
acting.
or
Yeah,
yeah, the acting and all that. All of that comes together to make that beautiful moment. But all that had to be written down at some point, like if
of
you're doing the
course.
screenwriting for it. Yeah, so that's why I feel like the writing is the core of any story. Even if there's no word spoken, the way things are framed and explained through the writing for the people to create it, that's what makes it. And so I really like the idea of being able to be that story weaver, so to speak, and like create these things.
One of my favorite lines. I mean, you'll definitely appreciate this, but in I think it was in God of War Ragnarok when Thor is he like pins him down or whatever, and he's like he's like but don't he's like why? He's like, you know what I've done. And then Kratos says, but what will you do now? that that
Yeah,
line is one of those lines where it's like, damn, that's a thinker right there. Like, whoever was writing the meme of the quill on fire,
yeah,
like that was that right
they were
there.
cooking.
Exactly. So yeah, I think writing is very integral. I mean, without it, there's nothing. That you could take the most dog shit material, and the actors can do everything in their power to read it off and do it in the most best way possible, and it'll just fumble because the writing is just not there. Um, yeah, I think especially with the writer strike and all this stuff, finally getting resolved and how topical it is right now. I think we're about to see a huge resurgence in writers and them being needed in mass. Thankfully, so yeah, that was an interesting little rabbit hole to dive down. I guess to wrap this thing up. Last thing here I have jotted down here is building relationships. Now, I did a video on, I don't think it was specifically on this topic, but it was like it was a month or so ago. But
I
I
think I
ended
know
up
which one you're talking about.
talking about it. So in that video, I basically like went over understanding the types of relationships, because this is something I think is very important to becoming an adult and in adulting, as it were, right? Is people don't teach you ever how relationships foster, how to keep them thriving, how to nurture them, how to maintain them, and how to deal with them, going away and things of that nature. That's just stuff you're just kind of thrown out to the wolves to figure out, which is something I'm not necessarily a fan of. I definitely see, if I were to have a child, I would definitely go about things, a lot of things differently in terms of preparing them for the greater world. But 100% post high school, I felt like I literally had no one, like in terms of as far aside from the people I met online and whatnot. But like in person, I had like literally no one post high school to really kick it with or hang out with, or like, and then by you don't realize it until it's too late. Like, oh dang, like how do you like make friends when you're not in a situation where it's like, oh, we're friends just because we go to the same school and we see each other every day. That's why we're friends. But in the moment, that doesn't seem like the reason. It just seems like, oh, we're just friends. But then the moment you take school out of the picture, and now you don't have to be in this place cohabiting with this person, then that's no longer, you start to realize, oh, like we were only friends because of this situation, right? And you'll realize that in a lot of other aspects. You'll work certain jobs where you will work with certain people, and there will be people you talk to all the time on the job, and you may even hang out with them outside of the job sometimes from time to time. But let's say you end up leaving the job and you go to a different job, and that person for whatever reason doesn't ever reach out again. Then you're put in a situation where it's like, okay, well, do I reach out? Do I have to be the person, or am I overstepping? Does the person not necessarily really want it to go further than that? And that's like a mental thing. I was talking to Jonathan and Joey about this a bit ago. And we went through a long, conversation, because Jonathan, his mindset is very different. He's of the mind, like, if the person cares, they will call. And that is true. That is true. But like, he doesn't think about it that way, right? Like if me and John were to stop talking for like several months, unprompted, like there was no event that made that happen. If I never contact him, he probably just wouldn't contact me. But I have relationships with certain people that are like that. So I do understand both mindsets. But I do feel like, there are situationships where, because me and this person are in this given situation, we want this situation to be better, so we talk to each other and the day goes by quicker, and thus I have a work friend. And that's something that's never really taught to you. You just kind of figure that out. You figure out, oh, this is a work friend and this is a friend. And then, things like that are stuff that you just kind of figure out. And I really wish that was something that was, taught, or like in some way broken down to you, when you're in those formative years and trying to understand social situations and things of that nature. So I wanted to pick your brain on that, and where you feel you fall, and how, things have gone while you were in high school to post high school to now being in college and work life and things of that nature. Like how have you found it to be when trying to build relationships, keep them? What happens when you lose them? Things of that nature.
Gotcha. So for me, this is my experience was a little different, because I definitely had those situational relationships where it was like conditional, like like you said, like we're friends because we're in this situation for X amount of time. So like, hey, let's make the most of it, kind of deal. But because of the environment, like high school and middle school like were, and probably still are, they're probably actually worse now. But um yeah, I wasn't the most popular, surprise surprise, when everyone's
Yeah,
like
I wasn't either,
just
man.
yeah, but I was gonna say,
I
for
kind of fucked with
example.
it. I was the lone wolf, man. I was the guy that chilled in the back, and I was like, what? I don't care about any of these people.
Yeah, I was about the same, but it was a little different because I didn't really like play a sport or anything like that. So I'm in the back, and I don't know if this was the same at when you were in school, or like you were in high school or middle school. But when I was in middle school, the big thing that everybody found funny was like moaning people's names, which isn't like I doubt it's like a our
Yeah,
school or
that
this
was the
school
thing.
specific.
That's just a preteen like immature like thing you did.
Yeah, but they took it to like a new extreme. Like I remember specifically in middle school, these kids all got caught in the same stall, and like I knew one of them, and he was like with his pants down. Everyone was in there, and they all swore, "Oh no, no, nothing happened." And I talked to them like one on one, "Hey, what happened?" He's like, "Yeah, I was in there peeing." And they all ran in there, and like, "What did you want me to do?" I was already,
They
you
all
know,
ran in
yeah,
there.
yeah. And I was like, "Okay, why didn't you lock the stall or have your back to like the stalls aren't that big, man? Like, come on." But like so when school ended, the few people I was friends with, like I could truly say were my friends, like I knew for a fact like we were friends and we still talk to this day. And I was lucky enough at when I worked at McDonald's, I met these two different dudes who like we became like really good friends. Like for example, I want to say it was like a few months into us being friends, I was like having some like money trouble with like school and everything. I didn't want to take out a loan or anything like that. And one of my buddies, he just sent me like I think like $300. He was like, "Here, just go ahead and send it back when you can. I know you're good for it, blah blah whatever." And I sent it back. And at the same time, like whenever they need stuff, I do. But and like it's one of those things where like we all have that unspoken friendship that everyone wants where it's not transactional, like you're not looking at it as, oh well, I did this so he's going to do that, like that sort of thing,
Right,
but you're
right.
all doing it because you all want to help the other person, like that. And like we go out to eat and do stuff together, we'll like hop on the game obviously, and like, little things like that. We're going outside of work and outside the house to do things. And so I've had I've been lucky enough to find some good people and you know make those like I guess authentic and like true friendships.
Right,
But
right.
I can definitely see it being hard finding people and like you said, maintaining and nurturing them and like you said, how to deal with it when those people inevitably or not inevitably, but when that relationship ends, if it ever ends.
For sure.
Um
And I think we definitely are a bit different in that aspect. 'Cause you're definitely the more sociable person. I definitely get the vibe that you come off as more easy to talk to for a lot of people. Uh, and me personally, I have a very very hard time like getting comfortable talking to a new person, right? So for me, it always takes a long time. Like most of the friends that I'm like now super close with, it wasn't like we hit it off right off the bat, and then we just from there we were just friends. It was a very slow process of like, okay, I'm talking to this person, I'm hearing some things that he likes or that they like, and I'm like, okay, we might have some things in common. And slowly after several weeks of talking, it's like, okay, now I feel fairly comfortable talking to this guy all the time. So I've always just been like, I guess, very selective with who I choose to be around or who I guess value enough to be like, yeah, I definitely want to, be a part of this person's friend group or whatever, that nature. So that's definitely like held me back in some aspects. Like it took me a while to find my people for real, but like eventually it happened. And a lot of it was a social anxiety, confidence issue at first. But now, like I would say, in like the last like 2 years or so, I've definitely like broken out of that, and I'm way more sociable around new people. But I'd still say becoming friends with someone is still a slow process for me. I don't really see that could really change anytime soon. I'm just that type of person. I need to really know you to like be able to say you're my friend.
no, and I completely understand that. And I actually prefer when people are like that because when you just go around calling everybody your friend, it feels
Disingenuous.
disingenuous.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When everybody's going around, oh, that's my bestie, that's my twin, oh, that's this, that's that, and it's like if you call everybody that, it loses value. Like it loses value. If everybody's your
Yeah.
family, then your family means nothing. Like
I feel
you
like
know,
people that have a lot of friends, like these people that have like hundreds of friends or like 30, 40 friends, and they're on their phone all the time and things of that nature. I'm like, I feel like these relationships can't have that much meaning or that much value. Having that many friends, I feel, is not. It's just having a lot of attention. That's really what it is. Because
yeah,
even me, I don't even feel like I'm in the market for getting more friends, and I don't even have a lot. I feel like the tight knit group of people that I rock with is all I need, and probably will ever need. I don't really feel the desire to have a lot of friends. I just like that the ones I do have are ride or dies, and that's like all that really matters to me.
Yeah, quality over quantity. It's one thing that like I don't get for some people where they'll like for example, one of my buddies, right? He was having money trouble for like a while. It was like they were struggling to like find a place to stay, and I helped him when he bought a car. I drove it back for him because he didn't have his license at the time. Things like that. And I remember I get home one night from work and I get a text and I check it, and he sent me a paragraph basically saying like, "Oh, you've always been there for me," and this like super heartfelt message. And like I kind of sat there for a minute because I was like, I don't feel like I do anything above and beyond. There's nothing here I would brag about, like, oh yeah, I did this for him, I did that, even though I kind of just did that. But there's nothing I would go to anybody else, but oh, I'm a great friend because I did X, Y, and Z. And so I instinctively like joking was like, man, like what kind of friends do you have? I'm like a standout. Like I didn't say it like that, but I did bring up like, yeah, no worries, but like I feel like what I'm doing is just what friends do. You help each other out. But then like I realized like, yeah, no, actually there's a lot of people who just say they're your friend, and the second it's something that would inconvenience them, it's like,
Yeah,
nah.
yeah, and that's a really important lesson. I feel isn't taught, it's learned, right? And I think that is something that definitely is not, it shouldn't be the norm. I feel like as you grow up, I feel like, the people that have experienced this should be the ones to tell, like, hey, you're going to encounter situations like this in your life. And this person, you may think of as a friend, but, read the situation better. This could be a situationship. Like, I think that's a real thing that, people encounter and have on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, that was very, very interesting conversation. I enjoyed this. This is definitely went to a lot of different places and whatnot. This is running just a little bit over an hour. When I cut it down, it probably will be like just over an hour, like maybe an hour and 5 minutes or something like that. So I think that's a good place to stop it for this week. Now we're going to be coming back to you all next week. This is going to be a weekly thing. We're going to try and keep it and maintain it. So for next week's episode, we're going to have a little bit more fun and have a lighthearted, goofy episode. So we're going to be talking about an animated movie by Blue Sky, I believe it is called Robots. This is one that we definitely had on loop back in our younger years. So this will be a nice and fun movie to revisit. I think I want to do this fairly often, like from time to time, just revisit an old movie from our childhood. But instead of just watching it, for the sake of watching it, we're going to actually dissect it and try to understand why we like it so much. And maybe there's some deeper thing, because a lot of times you probably don't do this as much as I do, but I rewatch a lot of movies, especially ones from my childhood. And when I did that video on Balto, going over it, I had watched the movie again, but like with a really matured mindset. And there's a lot of deep themes in that movie that I was like, maybe this is why I liked it so much. So I think there's a lot that can be delved into in a lot of these older movies we haven't seen in forever. So I'm definitely going to watch it with a more analytical, critical eye and jot some stuff down. And we're just going to come together and just see, what each other saw in the movie that we didn't see 20, however many years ago that thing came out. So that'll be fun. And then the week after that, we're going to be doing a retrospective revisit of Spider-Man remastered and just Spider-Man in general. It'll be a Spider-Man dedicated episode. We'll talk about the movies, the character, what he means to us and us growing up and how we, enjoyed all of the Spider-Verse media and whatnot. And that'll be just in time for Spider-Man 2 because that comes out that Friday. And then later down the road, we'll do a review of Spider-Man 2 whenever we both finish that game. So
I'm gonna finish day one, so it'll be waiting on you.
Yeah, he'll definitely be waiting on me.
Yeah, I'm gonna know like that.
Yeah, he's a grinder for sure. So yeah, that's our roadmap for now. Those are the next two episodes. As far as what comes after, well, you just gotta stay tuned and find out. Hopefully y'all enjoyed. This is a pilot episode, so we're still getting the hang of things. The pacing and the flow of the conversations will definitely get better as time goes on. But hopefully this gave you a better impression of me, my brother, and the dynamic and the relationship as we head into this new venture. Are you excited?
I'm very excited.
Okay, sweet. Thank you guys for tuning in, listening, and we will see you all later.